Sippers, welcome to this episode of the Tea With Me podcast with me, your big mate Shane Todd. What an episode it's going to be. It's a guest episode. Very excited about this one. Asked this guy to do an episode a few months ago. He was on tour at the time, but because of COVID, nobody is doing tours, including myself. No one's making any money, and that's fine. I'm wearing a cardigan, and probably shouldn't be because I was wearing it to do a video and I'm too warm in it. But, made the decision to just go with it. Although whenever I do the mid-podcast sponsor read, I probably won't have it on. In fact, my face is burning up right now, and that could be because I'm wearing a cardigan, or that could be COVID. I don't know. I hope it's just because of the cardigan. But Sippers, welcome along to the episode. Before we get into it, I'm going to plug a couple of things. One is the podcast merch. We've got Sweet Tea With Me merch. It's on Shopify. You go on there, Shopify. You search for Shane Todd Comedy, although I've posted it on all my channels about a week ago. But I'll do that again today. And you can get yourself a Sippers t-shirt, a Money Toad t-shirt. You can get yourself a Tea With Me mug. And you can just have a great time with friends. Because that's what it's all about. That's what it's all about. I wore a face mask to the shop for the first time this week, a couple of days ago. And then I was like, I'm just going to do this from now on. And then literally the next day I was going to the shop and forgot to bring it. So what an asshole I am. But I put a picture of myself up in the mask. And then just this guy who I know, he's the guy that runs Taquitos, the taco place, which is phenomenal in Belfast. And just like a cracking guy who I've always had real good fun with. Anytime, like been there a couple of times, had good chat with him. And then I just put up this picture or whatever saying, I just wore a face mask to the shop. And he's like, you're a clown? I was like, why are people getting so annoyed that the Money Toad's wearing a face mask to the shops? I can understand in a way, although I don't know if I can, people being like, I don't want to be told to wear a mask. But I wasn't even doing anything. I was just wearing a mask. I was just wearing a mask because, listen, here's the thing. I'm from North Down. I've been wearing a face mask in public since 2004. So I think that guy got the wrong end of the stick. And don't sly to call me a clown just because I was wearing a mask. I don't know. I just thought that's what you're supposed to do. And all these guys who are like, no, you're being muzzled by the government. Hey, I don't give a fuck. I need muzzled because I'm a biting bitch. This bitch bites, so you better watch out. That's not me threatening to bite the guy that owns taquitos in Belfast. I just want to let you know the only thing I want to bite into is your tacos, and that's not code for anything. I think this cardigan's making me too warm, and it's making me question a lot of stuff. A lot of stuff. This episode of the pod is with Tim McGarry. Tim McGarry is known from Give My Headpiece, The Blame Game, Perforated Ulster, countless great documentaries about Ulster Scots, which I have, I think, seen all of and really enjoyed. Tim is also a stand-up as well. He's a stand-up comedian who I've seen many times. We talk about the fact he did Bug Uglies, Dave Elliott's club, a couple of months before lockdown and just absolutely demolished the place. Tim is also just a very, very nice guy. Like, when I first got into stand-up, when you met someone like that who was like a big TV name, I would get like, not nervous around them, but you didn't know whether like jump in conversation, whatever. Tim's one of those guys who just always made you feel very welcome, at a gig. And there's I'm sure instances where people don't do that. So I've always really liked him. We talk about loads of different things, and I asked him about how comedy's changed here and the reaction the Blame Games had, Give My Headpieces had throughout the years. So I had a great time talking to him. Tim is a lovely guy, and there's a reason why he is still so prolific on TV and radio, and that is because he's very good at what he does, and he's a very nice guy. So I hope the Sippers enjoy this episode. I think this might be the second last episode before we're back in the studio, which will be great. And you don't have to look at my shitty video uploads, and we can get Big Mike back on it. Also, before I recorded this, producer Dan straight away, when will you have this sent? And I sent a picture of me recording this, and he's doing the laughing emoji, crying laughing emoji. But I think the crying laughing emoji is code for tears, because he's going to make me cry whenever he tells me that I'm not allowed outside for a month. #free Shane. The other thing I got to plug is our Patreon. Patreon.com/teawithmepodcast. It's all going on over there. You've got my stand-up film from the Waterfront Hall in its entirety, in full HD, in full vibrancy. It's there. just for the Patreons. You get the bonus podcast with me and producer Dan every Monday, which is mainly me asking him why I'm not allowed to have things anymore and why all my money is now in his name. And there's just a lot of different things, like merchandise comes out first there, exclusive gig news, there's merchandise giveaways, patreon.com/teawithmepodcast. If you can support the podcast that way, that's great. But if you could also, or not even, do this if you want, I don't care. It'd be great if you could, I do care, it'd be great if you could go onto Apple Podcasts and rate and review the pod. That really does help. Takes about 30 seconds, and I'd really appreciate that. And definitely just say ribbit at the end of it, and let's just have people look at that and go, what's that about? Enjoy this episode with Tim McGarry. I had a lot of fun doing it. Tim, I've said too many times now, is a great guy. He really is. Enjoy it. This is the Tea With Me episode with Tim McGarry. Tim, my first question for every guest on the podcast is, do you drink tea? And if so, what is the level of your tea drinking?
I used to drink a lot of coffee, but I'm drinking actual tea as we speak.
Nice.
From my favourite, my son got me a really, really good present, which is the Cliftonville mug. That is Jody McMullen celebrating scoring the winning goal against Linfield in 2013. 13th of April 2013, just if you're interested. Yeah. And that's it. So I drink quite a lot of tea. I drink tea in work. When we're in the office down in David Hull's office, I drink a lot of tea, and drink a lot of tea at home because I have to.
How many cups, Tim, would you say you're on a day? And is this the peak for you tea-wise, or have you scaled it back?
Well, I had this idea for a great podcast called Tea with Tim, because it rhymes.
Oh. Yeah.
But, alliteration.
Hear from my lawyers, Tim.
Fecker came and stole the idea. I like a good cup of tea. Are you a tea bag man? Are you leaves and all of that? Are you? Oh,
definitely not leaves. I mean, I think I bought them once and then realized I was just totally out of my depth. Yeah. I got it wrong. I bought like a pot for them, but I've gone back to the bags. I think, Tim, I don't mean to be rude, but I think you always go back to the bag.
Yeah.
You always come crawling back. You know what you're getting with the bag. So
it's like all that wanky filter coffee as well. And all that. No, just spoon, bang it in, whack, cup of coffee. There it is. Yep.
That's it. We were just chatting briefly before this about the fact that you've still been sort of working through this, and we've both done sort of radio, TV type stuff during lockdown. But what's lockdown been like for you? Are you used to taking this kind of length of a break? I imagine you seem like a guy who just never stops. You're always doing something. So has it been tricky to sort of set in?
Yeah, it has been tricky. We lost a hell of a lot. We were on tour with Give Me Head Peace and had done 19 shows. I think we lost 9 or 10 shows that were sold out and literally overnight disappeared. Then a series of The Blame Game was supposed to start in April, and it disappeared. And then loads of gigs that just disappeared overnight, after dinners and corporates and stuff. So after you're a freelancer, you're sitting there twiddling your thumbs, and you're always worried. If you're a freelancer, you're going, "Where's the next gig? When is it? When is it?" And your diary just fucking completely emptied. Yes. On the other hand, I'm quite relaxed and I enjoy sitting out in my back garden, reading the paper and doing crosswords and taking life very easy and not doing an awful lot, like reading books and sitting listening to music and watching crap TV. So it's been quite enjoyable as well. But we were able to keep our hand in with some of the radio. So with Perforated Ulster, which we normally do September, October in front of an audience, they brought it forward. And we're in week 5, I think, out of 6, and it's been brilliant. It's been really good fun, actually.
It you say about the Blame Game, like I would imagine, or what I think would be good is like just even seeing you guys like on Zoom doing a show, just chatting about maybe like the last year in politics or something like that. But I had to totally cancel it. My tour was supposed to be September, so I had to cancel it. But I think that's better than, I imagine it must be a nightmare as a performer to be halfway through a tour or just during it when you've got the momentum going. And
well, that's it. We show 19. I actually got my lines right for the first time, it was great. And we were all having great fun and enjoying ourselves. And we actually did a night in Armagh. And there were supposed to be 400 people turned up. We'd sold 400 tickets, and then 200 people turned up because the COVID kind of panic had set in.
Yeah.
And then the next night, like that, just went, no, we can't keep doing this. So all the shows were stopped. But with Blame Game and doing it off Zoom, I don't know. Some of it works and some of it. Did you watch Have I Got News For You? I didn't think that worked an awful lot. I think it does lack an audience. Otherwise, you're just 4 people laughing at your own jokes, which kind of can be a bit sad looking. I mean, we do need an audience. We need an audience reaction. With Perforated, it's different because we're doing scripts. We always actually started off way back in the midst of time when you were -3 or whatever. we did it in the studio without an audience, but recently we did it with an audience. But it's a different animal. But we're really pleased with it, I have to say.
But have you ever like taken a break? Because to me, as a 32-year-old guy, I feel like you have been on my TV, on my radio since I can remember, and I don't ever remember. I just feel like you've always been doing something. Always, when you doing Give My Headpiece, that's obviously how myself and so many people kind of got to know you. Then when Give My Headpiece kind of went away for a while, it felt to me like straight into the Blame Game. See you at the Empire doing stand up. You must be like constantly doing stuff, which is great. But how's a break affected you?
Well, I've been pretty good. Yeah, I've been pretty constant. We've kind of really haven't been out of work since about. Well, we had it. There was a woman in the BBC didn't like us very much a lot of years ago and scrapped everything, which I don't want to go into because I'll get annoyed, and we don't want that. We're all drinking tea.
No, we do want that, Tim. We want ratings. We want ratings.
But even when we'd been scrapped, we were doing gigs and we were doing we wrote some dramas and stuff as well. But yeah, you're right. I mean, my wife keeps complaining we haven't had a decent 3-week holiday, and last time was 12 years ago. We went on a 3-week holiday, and every summer she goes, "Well, what's the crack this summer?" I go, "Well, I'll probably be free," and then there's something comes up, so it's hard to plan. But I mean, it's nice. I'd like the variety of the stuff I do. I'm very lucky, with a sitcom, with Give Me Headpiece, with Blame Game, with Perforated also, and then I do, as you say, bits of stand up and after dinner speaking as well. And then do wee bits and pieces like a radio show we do about Irish history with an orange man called David Hume, called The Long and the Short of It, which is the best joke in radio, but nobody gets it. You can't see him, and he's Robin Swan's twin brother, basically. He's about the same height as Robin, and it's him come up with the idea for the title, The Long and the Short of It, because I'm 6'4" and he's not.
I got my haircut for the first time today since lockdown, and I think up until just the second before I got a cut, me and Robin Swan were having a competition to see who has the worst lockdown hair. I mean, it was close between us, but someone needs to have a word. I don't know if he dyes it. I don't know if it's a rug, but someone needs to speak to him. I mean, Getty has a lot on his plate, but he needs to sort that out. Like, honestly, I don't think anyone would mind if he just took a day off, just get a trim and just have a rest.
There's a guy, Steve, what do you call him? McBride from the, what do you call him?
Sam McBride.
Sam McBride, from the journalist from the newsletter, and I haven't seen Sam for weeks, and he was on the news the other night. Now, fuck me, you know what he looked like? He looked like he was on the dirty protest in the H blocks in the 1970s. He's got this beard down to hair, and his beard down to his hair is absolutely mad. So, yeah, there's some people have taken it very seriously, but I think I don't have enough hair to say about it.
I remember, speaking of, you always haven't been busy and Give My Headpiece and doing stand-up. I remember the first time I saw you do stand-up at the Empire. It was when I'd first started doing stand-up, or I don't even know if I was performing just yet, but I remember you were doing a guest spot. You maybe filled in, you did a guest spot. And I remember being like, oh, I didn't know you did stand-up. So it was like that from Give My Headpiece, was the fact that you did stand-up. And I remember just being very excited that I was seeing you do stand up. What do you prefer? Have you ever had a preference, or has it changed over the years?
I excited until you actually heard what I was saying. I came at it the reverse way. So I came at it from writing and performing and acting and Give Me Headpiece, and then the only reason I started doing stand up was because David Hull Promotions kept getting a sort of quasi-corporate gigs to come and open, Dan, Uncle Andy, to open a supermarket somewhere, because we were huge at one stage. We could, we did all. Cully
you don't need to tell me.
We opened all those Euros bars, every one of them. And then they cut a ribbon, then they'd hand you a microphone and go, "Give us some of your crack there, your crack. Do your skit from the show." So eventually I had to develop at least 10, 15 minutes of stuff that I did myself. And then it kind of developed from that. And David Hull, again, one of those great promoters who he genuinely booked me into the Belfast Festival for an hour and a half show that he said, "I've got you a good slot in the Belfast Festival." And I said, "What am I doing?" I said, "Don't know. You've got to make up your mind." So I did this one-man show about Irish history called Tim McGarry's Irish History Lesson. And it's the first time I'd done a proper full-length show of about an hour. Well, I did an hour 20 or something like that, and it was really, really, really delighted with it, because it's one of those things. Stand-up's great. when you've got a big audience and you tell a couple of jokes that are kind of warmer uppers, and they quite like that. Wait till you see their reaction to the one that's coming 5 minutes from now. They're gonna love it. There really is no better feeling, I have to say, than
when you did Pug Uglies with the Dave Elliott runs. I think I was down to watch, or was doing another gig that night, and you did a headline set, and it was phenomenal. Like, it was so good, and that must be nice to have different strings to your bows, and the Pugs is a very, very young crowd. It's a student crowd, and God, I just remember you were doing a topical bit about Liam Neeson at the time, and I was like, people need to see. I think Pugs is one of the best rooms, and it would look really good to film something in. But I just remember being like, that is some great stand up there.
Very kind. By the way, good idea of yours to get rid of Dave Elliott. It wasn't working, was it? I mean, is he all right with because I mean, he seems like a lovely fella, and then you go, Jesus, that's an awful lot of drugs for one fella.
He's had his problems, Tim.
We're all trying to intervene, but it's
he has his demons. He has his demons.
But that's. But he runs a very nice wee club there, and it's a really nice wee spot. As you say, it's nice and small. The crowd are very close to you. The low ceiling helps, and it's just a really nice wee. But there's lots of them there. I mean, the Empire, of course, is the oldest and the best, and all that. But the Lavery's, I've done Colin Geddes' gig. Well, and it's lovely too. I've had a couple of really nice gigs in there. But I don't have the same sort of turnover as some of the other guys would have, on the Blame games, like Delamere and Murph and stuff, and go out and literally make up stuff on the hoof. I need to sit down and write it and plan it and think about it and try it out and stuff. I'm not a natural stand-up, but I'm the bits that I can do, I really enjoy doing, and I really, really, really enjoy it. I do it a bit in the middle of our stage show, Give Me a Headpiece. I do about 20 minutes, half an hour of stand-up, just so the rest of them can go back and put their feet up and have a pizza and a glass of wine. And it's when it works well, there's nothing better.
Yeah, I mean, just that I haven't really done much play type stuff at all, or stage stuff that isn't stand up. But whenever you're sort of sharing the stage with a load of people and something gets a laugh, it's nice, it's great. But when you're doing stand up and it's just you that's got that laugh by yourself with
all the glory is yours.
Yeah.
There was one of the nicest comedians ever, and God, who passed away recently, Sean Crummy. Sean Crummy used to be an impressionist, and he did stuff. And it was one of the comedians are all bastards. Okay, we're all egotists. We're all going to, some comedians sit backstage, and if Shane Todd's on and he dies on his hole, we all go, great, I'm going to stand it. So Sean Crummy used to stand out the spine of the stage and go, fantastic, you were brilliant and the best. I genuinely wanted everybody to be funny, and that's kind of an attitude I've now developed, and go, yeah, he's right. Just we're all jealous of each other, and we're all we all have egos, and we all have things that we'd like to do and things that we would think we're better than people. But my view of it, people get snobby about comedy, and I say no. If anybody can stand up in any room and make people laugh who they don't know, who aren't never related to them, then you're a comedian, and that's it.
Yeah, I mean, I would love to see a stand-up show. I've been doing stand-up for like 13 years now, I think, and I've never seen from here, I don't think, like a stand-up TV series. I mean, I know there has been in the past, like people have told me about it. Oh, there was this show in the 90s that was from the Empire, and there was this kind of thing. I think now, I don't know what your opinion on this is, but I think the stand-up scene now, I might be biased, but I think it's like, it's so good, the stand-up scene here now. Even the likes of Lavery's, the likes of Pug Uglies and stuff like that. I think pound for pound, it's in the 13 years I've been doing it, it's the best that it's ever been. So I would love to see a live TV, not live, but as live stand-up show, and have just a real mix of people on there. I don't know why that's not happened.
Well, I'm lucky that I'm old enough now to do not to worry about having to struggle and do gigs every weekend. But you're right, the scene here has got a lot bigger and a lot better, and there's a lot of acts I haven't seen or I've only seen once. But the likes of Paddy McGarry, who's working up in Ballymena there in the Braid. I mean, Paddy does great wee gigs, and I always take for him because, he's the nicest man in show business.
Correct.
Robbie has dead cats in the basement, and he murdered. Well, he's a lovely guy. So I do the braid for him a couple of times. And there's people, that he's has brought on, and he's a guy who's just doing it for nothing as well. And there's a really nice scene of people who are just want to get out there and try to be funny, which is great.
How's the scene changed? Not just stand up, but like if you want to call it the comedy scene here in terms of TV as well. What year did you start? Like when did you get into everything?
Well, we were full-time lawyers. I became a full-time comedian in 1996.
Wow.
But before that, we were doing stuff in the Edinburgh Festival in the late 80s, early 90s. Our big break was Talkback. We did a live 5 minutes topical slot on Talkback from 1990 odd, and then got a radio break. It was in the days when lots of people listened to radio, and we did a couple of live shows from the group theatre, and it took off from there. And from being on the radio, what happened was we'd normally had 30 or 40 people come to see our shows, and then being on Talkback, which has a listenership of a couple 100,000, suddenly the theatre was full, and went, this is quite different. So we've been sort of full time at it, from 1996. But it was completely down. I mean, certainly in the late 80s, early 90s, there was very little. There was the big boom across the water, and we were kind of got the very, very tail end of it. And it was Jackie Hamilton again starting up the Empire with Paddy, and then Murph and Jake O'Kane coming on the scene as well that started. But again, up until recently, there weren't very many comedians. There really weren't up until the last 10 years. Yourself and Colin Geddes and various people, and Mickey Bartlett, who I have a lot of time for as well. They were kind of the second wave, but now it's just got bigger and bigger, and it's great to see.
Yeah, have you noticed that? Like, do you feel it's sort of gone up and down in terms of quality, the stand-up scene, or do you think it's gradually been getting better? Or when for you was the best time?
Obviously the subject matter has changed since the end of the Troubles and all that sort of stuff, but there is a standard. I think the second wave, like as I say, yourself and Mickey Barton and various other people then come on the scene. I think the new ones then have a different standard. I think also culturally things have changed dramatically. I mean, you and various other people would be massive fans of the American comedians that we wouldn't. Really have known about at our time. I mean, I was a great fan of Woody Allen's club years. Listen to Woody Allen's early club years, early 60s, great stuff. But I mean, our touchstones, were things like Monty Python early on, and then in the late 80s, early 90s, you're talking about the likes of the people from the Comedy Store and stuff like that. And so we didn't really get into the American. We were kind of. Well, there's always a bit of cultural cringe here in Northern Ireland. We're too distant from London. In those days, we were thinking, oh yes, we'd like to be like those comedians over in England who are doing the likes of Eddie Izzard and people like that. That's our goal. But I think now there's so much stuff online. There's so much stuff that's accessible to you that wasn't accessible when I was a youngster. That I think it has improved everybody, because you can see that the standard has to be very, very high.
What was the start of Give My Headpiece? Because Give My Headpiece is one of the fond things I look back on whenever I kind of first would have been like watching TV, whenever I remember sort of watching a series. So I was born in 88. I don't know what age I would have been when Give My Headpiece started, but it was my Friday night ritual at my granny and granda's house in a place called White City in Hollywood, which is is kind of the only council estate in Hollywood. I mean, still plush, them, still like nine bedrooms, but I just
some with golf clubs,
yeah. I just remember Friday nights sitting with them watching the Kelly Show and Give My Headpiece, and I remember just being so excited that you talk like us, that this was a show that was about the place that I was from, and I remember being very young and just cracking up. And it could even be something as simple as like like the first time I heard Paddy do Pastor Begbie's voice, I was gone for days. And there was always that thing of, you would chat to your mates in the playground about it, even though you were very young. Did you see it? What about this bit and that bit? I actually had a video of Give My Headpiece, which I remember watching a lot. And how did it all start? Because I think it's something that it's such a big cultural thing here, and there is so much love for it. And especially, I think when it came back, I think I appreciated more the fact that it had such a place and still does on our screens here. Because, like, to be totally honest, I fell into a thing of being like a frustrated kind of young comedian. I was like, why are me and my friend? This was maybe 8, 9 years ago. I was thinking, why are me and my friends not on TV? Now, with hindsight, there was no way we were ready to do anything on television. But now you kind of go, you know, this people absolutely love it, and there is a nostalgia thing, but then there's also like a topical aspect to it as well. I'm rambling, but what I'm saying is,
rambling, yeah, you on something?
Dave Elliott, give me some gear. Sippers, let me very quickly interrupt the podcast because we have a sponsor and we've reeled in a big one. It's Manscaped. What is Manscaped? Let me cut to the chase. Let's not beat around the bush, and that is not, I've not said that by mistake, beating around the bush, because Manscaped is going to help you beat your bush. Alright, and that sounds aggressive, but it's not. It's the opposite. It's gentle. Manscaped's Lawnmower 3.0 is a little razor. I should have brought mine in from the bathroom to show you, but I won't. The razor, that is, by the way, nothing else. The Lawnmower 3.0 is an electric razor for your down below. The Lawnmower 3.0, an electric razor for your down below. Right? They should give me extra money for coming up with rhymes like that. Essentially, if you want to take care of your undercarriage region, your nether regions, your Netherlands, you need the Lawnmower 3.0 by Manscaped. Go on their website, manscaped.com. Use the code TEAWITHME if you like what you see. Not, the code isn't TEAWITHME if you like what you see. The code is TEAWITHME. You get 20% off and free shipping. I am a customer. It's like Ross Kemp from an aerial view down there, if you know what I'm saying. There's a torch on it, and one of our listeners is like, hey, in America, torch means flame, so probably don't say that. There's a little light, there's an LED light on the Lawnmower 3.0. I nearly said 2.0. Who the fuck is still using the 2.0? We're all about the 3.0. Guys, do yourselves a favour, manscaped.com. The code is TEAWITHME. Get yourself a travel pack, take it around with you. Girls, get the fellas on it, because we need it. Let's make pubes in Northern Ireland and all around the world good again. And let's go to manscaped.com. Use the code TEAWITHME. Back to the podcast with my man, Tim McGarry. So how did
sleep, mate? You haven't had any sleep, bro.
No. So
how did her at the same time?
how did anyway, get my headpiece start?
Thank you for your very nice question. I fucking forgot what it was now. It started way back when we did live shows, and it started as a one-off sketch, literally about the bad Northern Ireland TV plays and dramas that were about the Troubles, with people with English accents doing bad versions, and it was a sketch.
Oh, that's interesting.
Too late to talk to Billy and Paddy about Love Across the Barricades and the Terror Triangle, and it took the piss out of all those pathetic tropes, about Love Across the Barricades, and we made it two men, of course, and stuff, and then everybody was happy, and then there was a bomb, and they all got me up. But why can't it all be like Curry Mila? And this was our kind of finale sketch at the end of our, half-hour, 40-minute routine, and it always brought the house down.
Brilliant.
And then when we started the radio, we got a radio series, and we thought there's something in that we can maybe make that into a one-off soap. So we made a half-hour version of that sort of play and just took the piss out of all the English accents and stuff like that. And then that radio series won a Sony Award for Best Radio Comedy, and then developed from there. And eventually, again, you talk about, doing it, 7 or 8 years ago, why am I not on TV? It took us about 10, 12 years to get on the telly from where we'd started. But in about 1995, we did 2 Ceasefires and a Wedding, and we thought it was a one-off. We were going to do this as a one-off.
I remember that.
We've taken the piss out of all the thing. And it was Martin Lynch, the playwright, came to one of my writing colleagues, Michael McDowell, and says, "You've got a soap opera there. You've got a soap opera. You've got the characters. It's very stereotypical, and there's the broad side and the Catholic side. But you've got a soap opera. You've got the basis of the 6 or 7 core characters." And it kind of went off from there. And I mean, you're very kind, and thank you very much for saying. I mean, it was definitely the thing about the success was it was definitely pitched at a Northern Ireland audience for Northern Ireland, and we didn't give a shit about anybody down south or anybody in England or anybody. We just went, we know who our audience is. It's for Northern Ireland. Now, it was hugely successful in Northern Ireland, but nobody outside Northern Ireland knows or gets it or understands it. If it had been in England, I would have been a fucking multi-millionaire. I wouldn't have to talk to like Shane Todd on a free podcast. I mean, you'd be speaking to my agent, my friend. Because at one stage we were getting 40-50% audience share. I mean, it's ridiculous, which is basically half the people watching TV at any particular time were watching that program, which is great. But it was kind of by happy accident and a mixture of, I'm in a writing team of 3 people, Damon, Michael, and myself. and we knock stuff about, and because we work in a row as a threesome, there's kind of we're prolific, so we can be very quick, but we also have instant editing. So if I come up with a joke and I think this is a great joke, and the other two go, no, it's crap, it's not in, and just kind of, it's done and dusted, and I don't go off down a rabbit hole going, my joke and my idea is brilliant. You've got instant editing, and if somebody comes out with a line that makes the three of us all laugh, you go, right, that's in no matter what. So we are fairly quick. So we can write, for instance, a perforated ulster. We'll write it, a half hour in about 2 or 3 days.
Oh, right, okay. I mean,
that's all technical stuff, but a Give Me a Headpiece episode we could write, in basically about a week or so, or a week or 2 weeks at most.
That's very, very interesting, and makes, that's so funny to me that almost you're saying like Give My Headpiece started as a parody of what was already out there, what was already happening. Like that's great. And I mean, I just remember being in my granny and grandma's house and just all of us hysterically laughing and enjoying it. And then, well, this is maybe just my perception of this, but when you did the sketch show Dry Your Eyes, very well known at the time, popular at the time, but it feels like because of a lot of social media clips that have really gone viral with it, there's almost like been like a delayed second wave of it where people are kind of resharing it and going like, what was it like? Like I see young people sharing it who when it was on wouldn't have been watching TV.
No, we were really proud of Dry Your Eyes. Again, to go back to our earlier conversation about the person who didn't like us and scrapped everything.
Didn't like me either, by the way.
There was supposed to be a third series of that, and it got decommissioned, shall we say. But the remit for that was very simple. It was kind of, you've done your trouble stuff, have characters from here and very set here, but it's not about no politics or anything. And there's Derek the Linfield fan. That's it. He's a Linfield fan. He's a basic slobber whose catchphrase is a by fuck, no matter where he is, he'll fuck. There's a couple of clips that were really with the one where the Islamic Jihad tried to take over the plane and stuff, and the bank robbery, and nothing gets in the way of his holiday in Santa Paul's.
I think my personal favourite was the sketch that Marty McCann's in. Marty's a good friend of mine, and the Holy Land. No, the Holy Land sketch.
Oh yes.
just so good, so good. Is Dry Your Eyes something you would ever bring back?
Well, we would possibly bring it back, because we would definitely like to. I mean, there was some legs in it. I mean, our other favourite characters were the McDowells, the motorbike, the mad motorcyclists.
Yeah, definitely.
Somewhat on the McDowell, but on the Dunlops, but I mean, it's lasted as well. I mean, that world just exists, and we had great fun. Just taking that absolutely anyway. It was great fun. The two mad McDowell brothers.
Yeah, my dad was a road racer for decades, right? and those characters always made us laugh. Because boys like that who are beyond obsessed with their bikes, and I thought Dry Your Eyes was great. And Pop Goes Northern Ireland too is I don't think I missed an episode.
We're very. I mean, it's a different animal altogether, but we're genuinely very, very proud of it, because it started off as a kind of 5-part series, and we did 5 of them, and then people went, "Oh, that's actually quite good." And if you don't want to know your history of Northern Ireland, pick a year, and there it is in half an hour. Yeah, it's done in a way that we made a very wise decision at the start. So this is all archived. There's nobody from today talking about what they did in the past or justifying themselves or coming back and saying, I would have did that because, or I said that because, that's what you said in 1975 and that's what you did in 1982 and all that. And the stuff just speaks for itself. And the music, we've no commentary, we've no more with just the music of the time. We're really delighted with that. And, I don't want to get too pointed about it, but we've done a lot of work with the victims group Wave, who I've worked with, because we had to contact a lot of people and say, listen, no harm, but, we were making a program. If you're watching TV on a Sunday night, you might find yourself walking behind your dad's coffin or something.
Right.
So there's a lot of sensitivity involved and a lot of going to and we ended up did a lot of contact with Wave, the victims group, and great people there, with Alan McBride and lots of people who have worked with there, just absolutely fabulous, and have been really supportive. And in fact, we thought we'd get an awful lot more crap, because you know what Northern Ireland's like, people like to have a row no matter what, but virtually nothing. We only had to, the only thing we had to change in the entire thing, we did the 1969, the year 19 is the start of the Troubles, very controversial, And the only thing we had to change a year later was the end of 1969. We had Rolf Harris singing Two Little Boys. and then the BBC said, you're going to have to edit that. Rolf has to go.
Rolf, too many.
The rest. That's all fine, but Rolf has to go.
Take your didgeridoo and jog on, Rolf. What did you ever have? Speaking of like controversy and stuff and reaction to things, whenever Give My Head piece was first on, or was like you say, getting that big audience share, what was the sort of day-to-day reaction you were getting on the street? Because I have seen multiple times, been outside a gig that you're at or whatever, and just people in unison just shouting "da." Just it's like an involuntary thing. I don't think anyone knows they're doing it, but just people wanting a thumbs up or whatever. Like people know you as almost like the nation's da in a way, as well as the other stuff you've done. So what was the reaction when that was kind of happening and first going on?
Now, I have to say, I mean, this isn't North Korea. There's a lot of people hate that show with a passion, and I understand that. And I understand. They go, listen, this is cliched, and they're cartoon characters, and our acting is, could be, well, certainly at the start was a bit roopier than it should have been. And there are people who hate it, and I go, absolutely fine. I don't know, that word, if you don't like it, it's not for you, absolutely fine. But the reaction early on, it took a couple of series, actually. It was started well, but the third series, it just went, from da-da-da-da to through the roof. And I think people started to realize where we were coming from, realizing we weren't coming from one side, realizing we hadn't got an agenda, and realizing we were just here to entertain you and tell you jokes and make you laugh on a Friday night. And if it wasn't for you, fine, it wasn't for you, don't worry about it. But the reaction was there was a bit of political, there were a few people saying, oh, you can't make fun of the Troubles and this is too serious, and you go, well, catch a grip. There was MASH did a series set in the fucking Korean War, we were only the Northern Ireland Troubles.
Plus it was, everybody, the piss was taken out of everyone, of every side equally. There was no angle to it. It was just everything's up for a laugh here.
Those are the old days, but when the people in London were starting to get interested in it, and would go, how many Catholics and Protestants are in the group and all that, and you go, oh, we get fuck off and leave us alone. But but there was a semblance of fairness. We didn't go, right, we've done 3 jokes and Uncle Andy said we have to even that up and do the opinions on the other side. But the reaction has been really good. But you did a thing, I think, in one of your podcasts, and I think that's where the modern world is I think slightly less. It's less comfortable than it was even in our time during the Troubles, because there's so much crap online. I think you did a thing about the Belfast Telegraph where there's an article about pot plants, and four messages down, it's, by the way, what about bloody Sunday? And fuck you didn't get down to Garbacki Road. And you go, sorry, we were talking about pot plants 3 tweets ago. What the hell happened here? And there's a lot of that online, and which is really quite depressing. Which is why part of me goes, look, we've been doing Give My Head piece and taking piss out of sectarianism for a long time. I do a lot of work for the Integrated Education Fund. And the idea is basically, would you put me out of work? I don't want to. Let's not tell any more jokes about prawns and pigs. Let's all live together. Let's all go to school together, and we don't have to have these bloody stupid differences.
Yes, yeah. I mean, the Integrated Education Fund's great. Like, I did their gig in London. I went to see you guys do the gig this year, and
in the Ulster Hall,
in the Ulster Hall, which was brilliant, by the way. I mean, I was so used to just doing like the student gigs, to doing my own shows, that I realized it had been so long since I'd just gone to a comedy night to just sit and enjoy it. Went down with my wife, and God, I mean, I'm so used to not seeing you guys do stand up too often, because sometimes you go to a comedy club, you just drop into your set and then you leave. But I was able to really just sit back and enjoy it, and it was just 10 out of 10. It was great. Really, really good night. Also, Baroness.
Good night. I think that's the night your child was conceived. It must have been.
You think so?
I can work that out. I think, you've seen Tim McGarry and you're going, I need to.
We need to leave.
Any better. I'm pretty sure the dates work out there. Am I right?
I mean, that was such a great night. But the highlight of the night, I'm sorry to say, for me, was Baroness May Blood.
Oh yeah.
She got up on stage. I was like, oh no, like, does she need help getting up on stage? I thought she was like, some sort of timid older lady who was just going to say thank you to everyone. She started like doing a set, and she was bringing the house down. Just a complete savage. I that's reminding me that at the time I was like, I would love to do a podcast with her, because I did a little bit of reading about her and what an interesting life she's led.
She's a brilliant woman, you know. No matter what, if you're on the same side as Baroness Mayblood, you're on the right side. I always say, you know, she's a great woman. But she doesn't like all the bad language and the rude bits that people do, you know. She's not afraid to tell you either. You know? Thanks very much, but you know, cut that out, you know.
Yes.
But she is. I mean, she's been through a lot, but she's a strong woman, shall we say?
Oh, definitely. But just bringing it back to that kind of thing of, you know, some people hate the show, and like any comedy, like I put a video out, yes, of course you're going to get people who hate it and want, for some reason, are adamant that they want to tell you that. But we had a kind of thing where I did an interview for the Sunday Times, which was such a big deal to me at the time. I was like, this is great. And it was all about I think I was doing my first Ulster Hall show, so it was supposedly just about that and a little bit about the local comedy scene, and it was, you know, recorded on like a dictaphone and went back and forth, and I was asked about giving my headpiece. You know, the guy was very much like, so, you know, what do you think? I got where he was trying to take me with it, and you know, at that point, this was 4 years ago, maybe you might remember it, and I said, like, the thing I want to see on TV is new comedy alongside the established stuff that's there. So, you know, I would love to give my headpiece on a 10, but at half 10 or 11, I'd love to see like a new comedy show. And of course, I'd want to be in it. But if I wasn't, I would just love to see that new scene being represented. And I was like, you know, the show's an institution. Said the same thing I told you about watching it with my granny and granda and how much I enjoyed it. And then that article came out, and I was buzzing to like read it and open it up, and I was beyond misquoted and so embarrassed. And I could tell that the guy that wrote it had like an agenda, had you know, was adamant that he was going to get in the point that he wanted to say, but almost used me to do it. So I was straight on to you, and I was like, listen, I was glad it was recorded, because I was like under pressure. I was like, I would never want anyone to think I would slabber, you know, almost. I wouldn't
worry about it, but I mean, journalists do that anyway. But I mean, we've genuinely never had a good review for Give Me a Headpiece. Never has now, reviewers here are pretty bad anyway. They don't review comedy here, and they should be. There's enough comedy out there for people to go, hey,
never get
should be looked at, you know. And they like Paddy Raff and all that sort of stuff that's coming up, and you go, bloody hell, there's a vibrant scene here. Let's look at this. But don't worry about that at all. But we have never, in the Sunday Times, again, the Sunday Times, he really has every time for the first few years, Give Me a Headpiece. He just spent every year there's a new series. He just give it a kicking. He got a baseball bat, and he just this is crap, and these are cartoon characters, and it's pantomime, and it's crap.
It was.
What I couldn't in Northern Ireland are pathetic, and you go, okay. After a while, you got annoyed the first time, but the second time you get less annoyed. Then, but you just go, like, that's fine. It's at your opinion. Fine. I don't care.
What I couldn't believe was I then said to him, I was like, "You recorded this? Like, you know, I didn't say that." And he was like, "Yeah, you're right." I couldn't believe it. I was like, well, "Don't say I said it."
Yeah, you know.
But yeah,
I mean, there is an element of this where there is an ego involved in being a comedian, but you've got to take, criticism. You've got to accept criticism, and no matter what you do, no matter how brilliant you are, and you're the best show in the world, there's still people going to hate you, no matter what. No matter
yeah.
Whether you're selling out stadiums, you're Kevin Bridges or whatever, and sometimes comedians take themselves too far. Kevin Bridges told us this great story. He was on the Blame Game one time, a couple of times, he was brilliant, and he said he sold out this stadium. And it went fucking great, and standing ovation at the end, except for one guy who was sitting at the front row just with his arms folded like that and didn't smile or anything. And when he walked off the stage, he caught this guy's eyes, and the guy was sitting there, and he said, it took me a day. He said there were 10,000 people cheering me to the rafters, but this guy fucking annoyed me. What's wrong with him? Why is he not laughing? What's wrong with him? You don't know what's happened to this man's life, or where
you definitely do focus on.
He could have been Dave Elliott's dealer or whatever. Dave couldn't pay. He could have had an awful day. He was smiling 2 minutes before he caught his eye, and he's tired, and he's not. But no, he said that fucking annoyed me for a week.
The worst thing is when you do see someone like that and you're chatting to them after, and you'd be like, are you okay? Like, is everything all right? The person, I'm not a laugher. You go, well, don't come to my shows ever again.
That's right.
I don't need you here. I need laughers. I need laughers. Did you ever have did you ever have a hairy moment with Get My Headpiece or with a gig, like after a show, like ever, like did you ever have a quiet word, like anything like that, walking home to the car?
We had a few complaints about some of stuff we did in a live show, but the only time we felt really bad was we did a show up in Derry one time, and the situation, there was a march and it was very controversial. There was a huge riot in Derry and the tension was very high, and we were taking the piss out of the Provost and Jerry Adams and stuff, and they didn't get it. They thought we were being serious. So instead of, laughing at these, we had this band called Jerry and the Peacemakers, and Jerry was, doing these wolf tone songs. And instead of, going, that's very funny, they went, fucking right, yeah. And we go, no. Mick, you're missing the point. This is satire. We're having a go at that. Yeah, fucking yeah. And he got, no, not up the rat. No. And it was really quite the only time I went, fuck, really? The message isn't getting through here.
Oh, that's enjoyable. I mean, like you say about, social media and this sort of new thing of people, well, it's not new at all, people getting into the sectarian arguments. It is madness that's still, and it's not a generational thing, because my generation do it, the whole just getting into that so quickly. And when you look at the likes of the Belfast Telegraph comment section, you see this. I don't know if everyone who does it is into it. I think a lot of it is, faceless people, is troll accounts, and that's pretty prevalent, like right now on social media with, like, I don't know if you followed like the lad flag thing, but all that. And that's kind of the only thing where I will always respect, like, someone like getting on stage, Tim McGarry getting on stage, you can see your face, you're standing over your jokes, but now it's possible for anyone to just be anonymous and do that kind of thing. And
I think the problem is a lot of people are taking themselves too seriously, and that's, you always have a sense of your own ridiculousness, as my late father used to say. Go, calm down, get. And it's both, I've learned a lesson. Sometimes I used to engage with people on Twitter and stuff. You go, no, don't. Just always be nice. Always be nice. I had my birthday was recently, and there are lots of people sent me very nice messages from my birthday, and some guy kind of said, but what about Brexit? And went in this rant about Brexit. I go, what? And they're bastards and blah, blah, blah. And instead of getting angry, I said, thanks very much for your message. I think you've missed the mood of the thread, sir. I go, all right, sir, you've misread the room here. But the best, having said that, the best quote, I think I should put on my posters from now. When I did the Irish History Show, it went out on TV, and it was the early days of Twitter. It was about 10 years ago. And there were people going, this is crap. And then some people said it was brilliant. And then I got the best quote ever. This guy said, watching Tim McGarry's Irish History lesson, said, not as shite as I thought it would be.
Which in Northern Ireland is the highest of praise.
It's 4 stars. Put
that in the Sunday Times. Oh yeah, I mean, I think I took longer than I should have to get that point of, you are going to get criticized, and it's other people's insecurities. Obviously, you will get people who do genuinely think it's shit, but it gets to the point now where you kind of worry about the sort of people who would take their time to do that kind of thing, and
trying to make you feel bad.
Yeah, and I think just being polite and not reacting kills them a bit. So yeah.
The other thing is you should always. There can be some good criticism. You always got to be careful about your work and not be complacent and go, well, hang on, is this good enough? Am I, have they got a point here? Is that, we, as I say, we're very lucky in the Hole in the Wall game. There's 3 of us who do all the writing for Give Me a Headpiece. I write the stand up and stuff on my own. I have one writer, Paul Gamble, who helps me blame game stuff for doing my own. But for, we have our built-in kind of editorial policy, but we also have to be very strict with ourselves and go, guys, this is all right, but it's not great. Can we have another go at this? Give another pass at that. Don't be happy just to go first draft, that'll do, that's funny, let's knock it out and away you go. So some criticism is valid. You
absolutely,
got that criticism from fucking Shane Todd's a wanker, I don't like him. Okay. That's not a criticism, mate.
Tim, you were very quick to come up with that.
Just off the top of my head. I'm just going to tweet here from Dave Elliott. He's going, this is the line for you to go.
Oh, he'd know all about lines.
Say we're riffing now. We're riffing.
I want to ask you this.
For this?
No, I want to ask you this as a final question. Is there any sort of project or thing that you would love to do? You've been really lucky to do like documentaries, sitcom stage. Is there any like personal thing or program that you would love to make at some point?
Well, that's a very good question. We're delving into documentaries and stuff. We're making a documentary about Oscar Wilde and Edward Carson and the relationship between Oscar Wilde and Edward. We like our history, so I'd like to do a couple more history programs. But comedy-wise, I mean, I just would like to do another stand-up show on my own. I haven't done a solo show in a long time, and I'm thinking of doing one next year called Tim McGarry Needs a Hug. And I would just like to, I haven't done a full solo show in a while, and I just thought I would like to get back into the Opera House on my own and just do an hour and a half or something, and just, because there's nowhere better, by the way, than the Opera House for comedy. It's just the best venue. I love the Ulster Hall. We did the Ulster Hall for the first time this year, but the Opera House is just, they're nice and close to you, and it's just a lovely atmosphere.
You have to put in a word with the Opera House for me, because I've tried to do it for years.
And
right? Yeah. I mean, I don't know whether it's an age thing or something like that, but I've tried. I would love to do the Opera. The only time I did the Opera House, you mentioned Jackie Hamilton. Whenever I first started stand-up, Jackie phoned. I was maybe 19 years old. I had the flu. It was Christmas time. Jackie phoned me. He said, "Do you want to come and perform at the Opera House?" And I felt like I was on my deathbed, but I remember my dad going to the garage to buy me Lucozade Sport. I fired that into me. I did a few press-ups and went, I have to do this. I've got to go and perform. I got there thinking I was going to do like 5-10 minute set. Do you ever remember Dermot Whelan used to do a thing called the Toll Trolls?
Oh, yes.
I wasn't doing a set. I was putting on the troll outfit, and they were talking from microphones up in the stands, and me and George Quinn, me and Magic George, were acting out what they were saying. So we were wearing these big giant outfits, and John Bishop was headlining the shows, and we were.
I was doing that gig.
You were doing it. We were so me and George were the Toll Trolls. We introduced John Bishop. I was like, I've just managed to get through this without fainting or whatever. I walked off stage. It was like, it still counts, performance at the Opera House. As I was walking off, I thought, I'm the Toll Troll. It's funny night. I'll give John Bishop a Toll Troll high five as he walks onto the stage. He just punched me in the nose. He just punched me flat in the nose. I don't know what he was trying to do comedically, but the suits weren't as thick as he thought they were. So when he punched me in the nose, I did feel it on the bridge, and I walked off a wee bit fuzzy. And I was like, I don't know why he's done that. And then I just went home and was sick for a long time. So the moral of the story is, I want to avenge my Opera House show.
You need to get a good solicitor. That case is still active and live. You need to go and sue John Bishop. He's loaded.
I know. I'm waiting until that was my point. Just waiting until he keeps making that money, and then I'm just going to hit him with that with that lawsuit. Tim, cheers for doing the podcast. Really, really appreciate it.
Pleasure. Anytime, sir.
Look forward to gigging with you soon, and definitely do that new stand up bar. I would love to see it, because Pugs, honestly, that was that in that sort of year that stood out for me, that spot. And also Neil Dugan we did a thing called Live at the Sunflower, which was a radio show for Radio Ulster, and Neil was not nervous about doing it, but there was everyone on the bill. I don't think there was anyone over like 25 that night, and it was a very young crowd in the Sunflower, and Neil was not hesitant at all, but he was sort of asking a lot of questions. He went up, the only guy wearing a suit, Neil like turned out in the suit. He went up, and it was just one of the most enjoyable performances. It was a little bit old school, but it absolutely destroyed the place.
Neil's brilliant. He did a one-man show about religion and I saw it in the Harlem Wolf Welders Club, believe it or not. And brilliant show. And sadly, it just didn't get a big enough audience. Now there was a half decent audience that night. I think he took it on tour, and it just didn't take off for him, which is because he had real good talent. It was a really hot show he had. I mean, Neil's a great guy as well. I think he's given it up now, hasn't he?
I think he's taken like a little bit of a break, because he works full time and he was gigging most weekends. And I've messaged him a couple of times to be like, when are you getting back into this? Because there's something I love about a stand-up. Not that I would, but a stand-up that wears like a suit. There's something, I wouldn't do it myself, but I can always appreciate it. And there's something like, this is what a real comedian should be, when I'm wearing I
just throw back to the 70s when they all wore dicky bows and dinner suits, we should bring that back. Maybe we should bring that
back. I'm wearing flip-flops and a Man United training top, but yeah, Tim, thanks very much.
Pleasure.
Appreciate it. Chat to you soon.
All right, give Dave a hug from me when you see him, will you?
Well, unfortunately, I can't get into the facility. Yeah,
All
so
right, okay.
he's only allowed one visitor a week. So me and you should both go up because he needs it.
He needs it. Good luck.
Tim, thanks a lot. Cheers.